A woman spent $30 million to buy a warehouse full of instant noodles and bottled water. She then spent another $8 million on a truckload of cotton clothes and quilts. She did all this because her daughter told her that an ice apocalypse was coming. It turns out the little girl was reincarnated from a cultivation world. In her past life, just after her birth, she was sold to traffickers by her father, who valued sons over daughters. She vividly remembers that in half a month, an unprecedented cold storm will sweep the globe. Temperatures will plummet to an unimaginable -400°F, causing all life to wither and the food chain to collapse. Food and drinking water will become the most scarce resources. The woman risked her life to bring instant noodles home, but when she excitedly wanted to give them to her family, a stranger grabbed the noodles from her. At that moment, she realized the stranger was her husband's mistress, and they had a son in secret, and the mink coat the mistress was wearing was bought with the money from selling her daughter. Hearing this, the woman died on the spot in anger. Remembering her mother's fate from her past life, the little girl decided she wouldn't allow herself and her mother to suffer such injustice again. Just as the nurse was about to take the little girl away as a stillborn, she suddenly called out for her mother's help, saying she didn't want to be sold to traffickers. The mother cried out to stop the nurse from taking her daughter. It turns out the little girl had a superpower to communicate with her mother. The woman fought to take her child back. Just then, her younger sister rushed into the room, and upon learning what happened, she ran off. She eventually rescued the baby from the nurse's hands. Back home, the little girl told her mother all about her father's actions in the past life. Just when the woman was about to confront her husband, the little girl advised her mother to hold off, saying there was an important task that needed her father's help. In half a month, a super cold front would sweep the earth, marking the start of a global winter. The father owned an abandoned underground warehouse, and its natural insulation could be turned into a shelter. The little girl urged her mother to stay calm until she secured the warehouse. The mother heeded her daughter's advice, and that night obtained her husband's abandoned warehouse. The next day, she took her daughter there. However, if they were to stockpile supplies, she knew she couldn't do it alone. So she called upon 3 sisters who had once fought by her side, and informed them of the impending apocalypse. They were all shocked upon hearing it, and worry that the warehouse won't be able to store a lifetime's worth of supplies. The little girl cast a spell and transported them to her alternate space, explaining that the space was as big as Earth and could store vast amounts of supplies, keeping everything fresh. They were then transported back to the real world, realizing they weren't dreaming. Everyone was amazed by the little girl's miraculous powers. The little girl reminded them that besides stockpiling supplies, they also needed to build a cold-proof shelter. The third sister, an aerospace engineer, said she had a batch of aerogel-like materials, but buying them would require substantial funds. The second sister offered to sell her trillion-dollar company, and the fourth sister agreed to purchase weapons from foreign arms dealers to handle emergencies. A few days later, they followed their plan and gathered enough supplies, and to make the warehouse a perfect sanctuary. Suddenly, the woman received a call from her husband, demanding she come home immediately to sign divorce papers. The sisters condemned the husband as a scumbag, saying he wouldn't have achieved his success without their support. Following her sister's advice, the woman decided to divorce him, but with only 2 hours left until doomsday. She asked her husband for the surplus cotton clothes and quilts in his company's stock, even kindly suggesting he stock up on supplies. Her husband mocked her as crazy, not believing the absurdity of a world apocalypse.